Mia and her family moved to Cedarville in 1979. She didn't want to start a new life in a new town. Her father had recently retired from the army, and had accepted a job at Pontiac Prison. Mia was used to moving, so this was nothing new, but it was still hard. She was starting her junior year in high school. She got her license earlier in the year. She got a part-time job right away when they moved here in May. With the extra money she was making, she talked to her parents, and they decided she could have a private phone line in her room. The home they moved into was very old. In her room was a very large walk-in closet. Inside the closet was a built-in chest of drawers. All the drawers opened very easily except the bottom drawer. Finally one day, she got it open. The only thing inside was a very old phone. It intrigued her. The day her phone line was being set up, she asked the installer if the old phone she had found would work. At first he looked at her oddly, but finally said, "Let's see." He hooked it up, and surprisingly it did. Actually, Mia was very happy. Now she doesn't have to spend money on a new phone. That very night the old phone started ringing. It shocked her something fierce. It was 1M, and she had not given out her new number to anyone yet. Slowly she picked up the receiver. Before she could speak a word, the voice on the other end spoke. "Hello, my name is Harper. I have been seeing you." Quickly Mia hung up the phone. The voice was beyond creepy. It sounded odd. Very odd. Mia liked the old phone, but she unhooked it, and put it on a table in the corner. The next day she went out and bought a new phone. That's when it started. Many odd things. Every night at 1 a.m. her phone would ring. She answered each time, to hear the same greeting she had heard on the old phone. She would always hang up right away, but each time the caller seemed more urgent. Each day when she would get home from school, her mom would give her the same message. "A girl named Harper wants you to call her." Each time she heard this message from her mother, it made her skin crawl. Her mom's voice and demeanor would change also. A few times Mia asked her mom about the caller, but her mom always acted like she didn't know what she was talking about. Each night Mia would hear noises coming from her closet. It was scary. Occasionally when she was driving, the radio would fade out, then it would start playing music from the 1930s. It was all becoming too much to bear. One day at school while she was digging around in her locker, she noticed something written on the back part of the locker. What it said made Mia turn ghost white. "Since you won't talk to me, I will be seeing soon, Harper." Mia was so shook up, she decided to go and see the school nurse. Her stomach was in knots. She had the chills. The school nurse was very old. Mia had heard the nurse had been working at the school for over 50 years. Right away Mia started telling the old nurse what was happening to her. She could tell the old nurse was hardly listening to anything she had to say. This was making her frustrated. But when she said the name Harper, the old nurse's grew wide. The old nurse leaned in close to Mia, and slowly whispered in her ear, "Don't ever say that name again." Then the old nurse withdrew, and turned around, and walked away, with her back still to Mia. The old nurse started giggling like a young woman, then she stopped, and she spoke. "I will be seeing you very soon, very soon, very soon." Mia quickly left the nurse's office. She decided at that moment, she was gonna ditch the rest of the day at school, and go home. When she got home, she remembered her mother had mentioned she would be gone all day. Without anyone in the house, Mia felt desperately scared. She slowly walked up the stairs. Instantly she could hear a muffled voices coming from her room. It was very strange. One of the voices was her new boyfriend Jacob, but why was he here? They had only been dating a few weeks, and he had never been inside her house. A little voice inside her head told her to run, but where, she asked back. Instead she stood still and listened. The voices stopped. Then she heard Jacob speak. His voice sounded malicious. "Come inside your room, Mia. Someone wants to meet you." In that second Mia turned to run. Something grabbed her from behind. Her struggles were futile. All she could smell was damp, decaying death. Then she passed out. Mia woke up groggy. She realized right away, her hands and feet were bound. Duct tape was over her mouth. As she looked around, it was dark outside. She was in a moving car. Her car. Then as she looked, she saw Jacob was driving. The radio was blasting music from the 1930s. Finally, after a few minutes, the car stopped. Jacob turned around and looked at her. He had a malicious grin on his face, his eyes were bright green. Then he spoke. "Let's get out. Someone is dying to meet you." Jacob pulled Mia out of the back seat, then he leaned her against the car. After this he walked about 10 feet away. What Mia saw made her eyes grow wide with utter fear. A grotesque figure hobbled out from behind some trees. It hobbled up next to Jacob. And in one swift second the hobbled figure grabbed Jacob, twisting his head all the way around. Then the hobbled figure tossed Jacob into the rushing Rooks Creek. Mia tried to move, but she couldn't. The hobbled figure came closer. Mia closed her eyes, waiting for death to take her. But nothing happened. Slowly Mia opened her eyes. As she looked up, instead of the grotesque hobbled figure, a beautiful young woman from a distant time was standing before her. Then she spoke. "You lived in my house, you had my bedroom, you had my phone, but you wouldn't speak to me. We could have been best friends, why wouldn't you talk to me? Will you talk to me now?" Slowly Mia nodded yes. The beautiful young woman gently removed the tape from her mouth. Then she spoke again. "Hello, my name is Harper, I am dead." Later that night Mia got in her car, and drove back home. She had a big smile on her face. She had a new best friend, and that made her happy. Every night Mia talks to her new best friend on the old phone. Each night, she slowly loses her sanity. Jacob's body was never found. Everyone assumes he ran away. Only 2 people know what happened to Jacob. One is dead. Mia is alive, but she is not talking, well, not to you or me. She only talks to Harper. Better pick up and talk.